Are we serious about it? Or are we just making these conversations around these rooms and these safe havens in which we can discuss and talk about it? Is it happening on the ground?
The lunches that the people have already started looking at the lunch break. I surely will try to wrap it up in as early as possible, and the excess time taken in the previous panel, so 45 minutes, will compress our session a little bit. Friends, sometime back when India was having industrial sickness and the BAFR was formed, the first chairman, he said that I have seen so many industries getting sick, but none of the industrialists get sick. They get more richer when the industries become sick, because the money gets siphoned off in certain way in setting up of the projects. This is one perspective of that was long back, and things have really moved forward, and there are so many international laws, and the international companies which are operating in India, they have to comply with the international laws and domestic laws, and so much of civil society pressure and the public pressure in the projects. In the last session, there were two very important questions raised. One was about the Integrity Pact being implemented in the sales thing, and was about the multilateral agencies. You see, this Integrity Pact is not a pact merely for procurement. So yesterday when the CBC said evolving up a mechanism to include even the recruitments into some kind of a pact, I mean, this is something very, very positive step. You see, now you look at the banking sector NPAs, the huge amount of NPAs running into, I mean, today the banks are really shivering to declare them NPAs because their own banks will collapse if they declare them NPAs. The kind of investments which are there by the banks and the financial institutions, they are outside this any integrity pact. Similarly, allocation of natural resources, which have seen the biggest kind of scandals, they are outside the integrity pact. So I think the CBC has given a very good indication to include the integrity pact in a very comprehensive manner and not to restrict it only to the procurement. And the biggest beneficiary of this will be the private sector, because whatever business government does with them or they do with the private sector, if there is a fair process in procurement or whatever business they do, the overall cost of transactions will reduce. So we have a very interesting panel which will give you insight into the private sector's perspective into how the Integrity Pact there has been experienced. Because even at the current stage when the Integrity Pact, the government companies or the ministries or the department which are following the Integrity Pact, after all, some of the private players, they have to comply with the Integrity Pact, so, and there are a lot of experiences, good and bad, with that, so I think you will have some of that experience to share. So we have with us Shri Mukesh Bajaj, who is Managing Director of Credit Risk, and Ms. Nishi Saxena, she is Divisional Compliance Officer, Energy Management Division Siemens, and Brigadier Rajiv Williams, Corporate Head CSR of Jindal. So they will be sharing on the private sector perspective on Integrity Pact. And let me first invite Mr. Mukesh Bajaj, Managing Director of Credit Risk, Credit Check, to share his thoughts.